right, so I think almost everybody's here. So let's start again. Now we have Tripp Williamson from CropBox, and he's going to talk about the shipping container. He's the company that we use to design and buy the container that we use at the University of California, CCPP. So he's going to give us a very good idea of all kinds of shipping container that he has built throughout his company career. Okay, thank you.
Sure, thanks. Thank you guys for having us. Yeah, my name's Tripp Williamson, from North Carolina. Grew up on a farm, been in the greenhouse industry for a while. My father started a greenhouse building and manufacturing facility, and that's kind of how we got into this. Built our first indoor farm or container farm in 2014, and really had no idea what we were doing, except we knew how to build greenhouses and grow plants. So it kind of evolved into that. We've done probably a little over 100 systems in 13 countries, a lot of them island nations where it's harder to get food. These are more prevalent because the miles to travel is so much easier or so much less. You can grow it on site and distribute it close to the source. So, we saw the need for it, and it keeps continuing growing. When we first started, I thought we've got 3 to 5 years, and then it'll be over. Everybody will be doing it. But here we are almost 10 years later, and seems to still just be getting started. So, kind of what I'll try to do is I've got a lot of pictures of the different systems we built. Carla, she did a really good job overviewing all the different components and things that can go into the systems, and it can be very complicated, but we do try to simplify it as much as possible. So on the left is a little R&D facility we had for a while. There's leafy greens in the back, I think some herbs on the right, and maybe some tomatoes there on the left with different lighting. We called it our Frankenstein system for a long time because I think we grew hops, and we tried to grow saffron. That was terrible. So we've tested a bunch of different things. Leafy greens are very popular, but as we move into, especially with Deborah and Georgios getting into more specialized system, Bruno back there, he'll be getting something hopefully in the next few months at the University of Florida. So we know what's needed in the systems. It's just fitting all the components in that small system and having it maintain the environment, the temperatures, humidity, and keeping it controlled. With what we do, this is just a little bit of breakdown of what is possible. Recirculating, we use a lot of NFT systems for the nutrient film technique for our leafy greens. And let me back up real quick. So on this one, you see how there's PVC pipe in the first one. During COVID, PVC became more expensive than aluminum. So here we started using aluminum racking. So it looks a lot better. You get more room, and it somehow ended up being cheaper, which we never thought would happen. So we have switched to all aluminum, so it does help conserve plastics and things like that. But we got our lights on the right. We're on the maybe 4th or 5th generation for these tube lightings. See if I can get a better picture, but happened here. Sorry, I messed up somehow. I don't know. It's not well, I'll just hit the next slide button. Maybe there we go. So here's the recirculating system. Environmental controls, typically your lighting, temperature, humidity, CO2. You can add in other sensors. It can get really, really in depth. We always say that growing knowledge is greater than technology. If you've got more growing experience, you can take a very basic system and get really good results with some basic sensors and nutrient controllers and things like that versus no knowledge and the greatest technology you've got out there. So we really do try to keep it simplified and go through the basics of growing. We can, go all the way from design to build to consulting. And, we try to cover the whole process of everything. But this is just a basic distribution system, kind of like Carla showed. And would say more, but we've kind of covered all that before. And this is the unit here. We found a very rare, I thought it was going to be no problem, 50, I think it's 3 or 6 foot. Yeah. Put refrigerated container. We mostly use reefer containers because they're already insulated. We just pull the refrigeration unit out of the back, and that's where we build the man door and all that good stuff. But evidently this was a diamond in the rough and took us forever to find it, but it allowed for a much better growing experience and more room to fulfill what these guys were needing.
Yeah, and important,
Yeah.
where we needed the extra footage about in my presentation was the double entry door that most of the nurseries or all of the nurseries regulations need. And you didn't have that requirement, is my understanding, for any other crop, right?
Yeah. At the time, yeah, it was not necessarily needed. But from a research standpoint, you try to keep things as clean and stop the pests and all that good stuff. And feel free to ask questions or anything like that as we move forward. And this is the clean room or vestibule that he was talking about. We try to put all the controls in this and then run it through the electrical into the growing system. You can see the water filtration systems. It's just a basic, I think, carbon and chlorine filter, but it has to be really big because there's the blue tanks down below. There's 3 of those. I think they're around 90 gallons each. So you've got to be able to fill them up pretty quickly without waiting forever. So that's why that filtration system. And then in the top right, you'll see that's the control box where the control panel for GrowLink is the control system that we use for them. And that controls the lighting, temperature, CO2, and monitors it. And you can set all the parameters and everything's on her phone, or, it's can access it through the internet or an app. And this is the inside. On the right is the dosing system. So that's a system. It is Neurovine, and really great system, cloud-based as well. And you've got your dosing pumps below, and so it doses inline. So it's continuously pumping the water from one end through the inline dosing system and then back, and so it'll dose the nutrients as needed. A simple flood and drain. I think we were getting ready to ship it, so it kind of looks a little funky. And I guess we'll see that in a little bit.
Looks nice and clean here.
Yeah. We were getting it ready. So we have some air distribution in the top left. So to help air movement, of course, is key, especially in the indoor environment and high humidity environments. Like everybody said, the humidity can cause a lot of trouble. And this, we'll be able to see all this soon. So just highlighting another system. We did this for UC Berkeley maybe 6 months ago. And this is the design rendering that we did. Joseph can do almost anything. He does all our designs. And then he did this video when he got done with it. And hopefully the music, I don't think there's any music with this one, but yeah. So this is the finished product from the, and this system's TrollMaster. It's really great. It's a little bit different than what you guys have, but the key difference is everything's controlled by RJ12 cable. So it's connected into each outlet. It gives you a little bit more versatility. You can expand the system, controls the lights. It's a really good system, not too crazy expensive. GrowLink, the difference between those are GrowLink requires you to run everything through the electrical system. So you've got to put in these little contactors that cut on and off the power. But it's really great. We've worked with them for a long time. And again, tell me to stop if anybody's got any questions. But this is the finished product, which looks really close. So they've got a holding tank here that's injected, and then you can. These are F9 fans from West. We really love them. They work very well. And the rolling bench, I think it comes from, I'll think of the name. Oh, and that was a lighting system. The lights are from ThinkGrow LEDs. They work specifically with TrolMaster. They're really good lighting system. You got your light sensor in the middle. You can add that, and then the bench can roll back and forth. It doesn't recirculate. It'll drain, but it was for drip irrigation. They think it's okay if they were doing their alternative meats lab was doing research with soap trees, which I'm not real sure why. That's all they told me that we needed. Yeah, soap trees. Yeah. There is a little screen up front, like a screen to keep out pests and things like that. Let's see. Did that. This is a leafy green system we did in Kentucky for a school. This is the FFA students. It's a high school. You can see the environment sensor in the top. That's GrowLink as well. The lighting system we use, we used to have red, blue, green, infrared diodes in each one. And so now we've gotten to the point where each one of the diodes has about, I think it's 8 to 10 red, blue, green, infrared diodes in each individual diode, I guess, if that makes sense. So get a lot better plant growth. I think we only added 5 watts to that. We get guy I worked with out of Colorado in the cannabis industry. He was a LED light engineer by trade, and then happened to be at the right place at the right time, around 2012. So he's kind of switched all that and helps us with this. But we use all different kind of varieties of lights and can help in many different ways. This system is a 20-foot one. It's really small. It's the only one we've ever done. We did one that was 10 feet for the military. We don't recommend this for any economical situations. This lady, she had the funding and wanted to put it in her backyard. And so she was, I think she's 77 years old, and probably to this day still grows some of the best stuff that we've seen. She grew all this together, and she just gives it away and eats it herself. So, but I always like to highlight her because she does just such a good job. And with her age and being able to be in a good environment all the time, she probably wouldn't be able to have this in her, in a garden in her backyard because it would get too hot where she was located. So we always thought that was pretty cool. This is the Philadelphia Zoo. They implemented this around COVID. They started having a really difficult time getting lettuce and leafy greens and stuff, mainly for their turtles. And so we build this. We did a window. There's another one we did that's all glass, but I don't know if I ever do that again. The glass does affect the growing a little bit, not negatively. Typically, it enhances the growth, but the windows are about 4 inches thick. They're quadruple pane. They're not supposed to land any variance 3 inches on the other side of the window. So it's no any UV light, no temperature difference, 3 inches on the inside. So they had a really good program. I'm not sure if they're still up and running it. They had some management changes and things like that. So, but I hadn't talked to them in a while. But it was a great project. We really enjoyed working with them, and it really made a difference for their program.
Option for the citrus, so we can have days like this, so you can see from the outside, but we would have lost a lot of growing space and
yeah. So it makes it a lot more difficult, and as you can see, the window has to be put in. And I'll get to that one in just a minute, to a different one. That's the inside of just the different herbs that they grew. You can see it's PVC still. The PVC worked great. It was very strong and sturdy, and if anything broke, it was super easy to replace. Microgreen growing, that's another system that it's kind of our main ones. The lady on the right, Tammy, she's another person that she managed a patent law firm for 20 years, got tired of what she was doing, started growing microgreens in her sunroom, and that was in 2015. And she bought a CropBox, and the year before COVID, she grew, I think, almost 3 tons of microgreens in her shipping container. So she's an amazing lady. Worked through the complications with COVID. I think she lost about 90% of her business during COVID. So they started a CSA, like community supported agriculture, with their own little box. And from the business side of it, that is, the most difficult time that people have. Is the growing side's the easy side, which it can still be difficult for some folks, but the business side is where some people do struggle trying to get it up off the ground. Like Carla said, starting off small and moving into it, because it is a lot to manage. There's, especially with microgreens, she was growing, I think, 25 different varieties of microgreens, and she was, running herself crazy. So, but she pivoted, started the CSA box, and would go to other local farmers, get all their fruits and vegetables, and they would put them in a box. And I think they've got maybe 300 or 400 customers now. So it's a really, really cool concept or idea that she pivoted from selling to pretty much only restaurants and farmers markets to the CSA, and now she's kind of picked back up the restaurants and does a really good job. This is a deep water culture system we did for. It was supposed to be for a school, and they ended up having some trouble, so we sold it to. We're in North Carolina, so it was a hemp grower, and we really like these. This system comes from Current Culture. They're out of California here, not too far away, I don't think. But it's the bins are very deep. It's a lot of water that goes through. The lids are interchangeable. Really great system. You can see the GrowLink, they have their dosing system there as well. So kind of the same concept where the water was pushed through, recirculated up, dosed as needed, and it just would continuously dose for whatever parameters you set. We typically use mini split systems versus, I know there's barred units and things like that, but we really have to focus on shipping. Shipping is a very big challenge, especially going overseas or not charging everybody. You've got to put it on there, and you can't be over a certain width, or shipping is way more expensive. So being able to develop all this, load it up, and then ship it out and get it set back up, it comes with a lot of fun challenges for sure. But the mini splits are typically really good because they're lower cost, and if the head unit goes down or something, they're relatively easy to replace without having to replace the whole unit. Or and there's a lot of HVAC guys that you can come out and get to work on it typically. And here's a little walkthrough of this unit. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, and this is sorry, I forgot about that. So yeah, so this would be the little seedling room, and kind of the same concept. We have a wall there, so it'd be kind of like a big clean room that we did here, and their nutrients are stored. There's a lot more dosing capabilities there, but similar, different bucket sizes for different size plants. You can see there, Current Culture down there. And good half fans, good air circulation. We have a camera in this one on the top right up there, and a little cloning area if needed. But let's see. Oh yeah, we'll start. I guess it starts with that. And they wanted HPS lights in here, so we typically do LED, but we've got good carbon filter in the back. Try to keep the smell down.
And air circulation very important, right?
Yes.
For a period of time, nothing was like, why is this happening? Water everywhere, walls, and things were getting moldy, and And then on the phone with Tripp, well, did you feel that sweet? The fan to rotate the air. The moment the fan start working.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And we had one real interesting challenge. We shipped one to, or several to Whitehorse, Yukon, which is parallel with Anchorage, Alaska. And we couldn't figure out, it was like the vapor pressure deficit. And we could not figure out, I mean, the humidity was insane in there, and didn't change anything. And we found out that it would get so cold, it would get down to -40 outside. So the walls would get so cold, and the temperature variance, I mean, it was just like it was raining in there. It was a very interesting setup, but we figured out that since it was so cold and the air was so dry, that we could pump the air in from outside and it would mix well, and just pump it through the system, and it fixed the problem. So trying to apply simple fixes is usually the best we found. And this is the one that I said I would never want to do again. This is for a school in Denver, and with the walls, yeah, they lost about probably 2 feet with the glass that would go inside, so they could only do one side of growing. So economically, it doesn't make a lot of sense. From an education standpoint, it does. There's a little classroom at the back end. They got this one. This one's been there for a long time, probably 2017, I think. But we had to, in the reefer containers, which we learned in the differences, it's got the insulation in there and it's injected in. So it is very, very difficult to get off. We had to cut the metal off, and then the guy spent about a week with a chisel trying to just chisel out how it was wild. But it turned out to be a very awesome, cool project, and we shipped it with the glass already. We were very concerned about that, especially from North Carolina to the mountains, the pressure with the glass, but only one of them shattered, and that was we considered that a win, because there was no way to install it once it got there. So we did a real good job with that one, and that's, the zoo wanted something like that, but we told 4-foot window would be plenty, and we thought it turned out pretty well. Let's see, our next kind of specialty. Sorry, this little thing keeps popping up. Our mushrooms. We've gotten into those over the last maybe 2 or 3 years. This guy here, Ben, and his business partner, Rebecca, they're out of South Carolina. It's called Circular Farms. We partnered with them. They helped us with the design. They've been growing, and they had a shipping container for about 4 or 5 years prior to us meeting them. And so we partnered with them. We build the fruiting units, and instead of having to learn to do the inoculation and going through that whole process, keeping everything sterile, they will provide the bags and ship the bags to you once or twice a month, cut a slit in them, put them in the fruiting unit, and your mushrooms will grow. They're already inoculated. You don't have to go through that whole process, which you can if you'd like, but this makes it quite a bit easier. They're super knowledgeable, great asset to what we do. Ben, he's in Colorado. They're doing studies on how, like, mycelium or mushrooms can help slow down the spread of wildfires. So pretty cool stuff. Oh yeah. Sorry. Another little video. This one is, if it'll play. Well, maybe not today. Nope, it doesn't want to. I was having trouble with it earlier. Well, I'll just tell you about it. That one is we did a quarter leafy greens, 3/4 mushrooms. So you could grow partial leafy greens in the front, and then the rest of it will be for mushroom production. We started doing that so that if somebody that didn't have a lot of growing experience, the amount of mushrooms that you can grow, I think if you did just fruiting rooms for oyster mushrooms, you could grow about 1,500 pounds of oyster mushrooms a month. So which can retail anywhere from probably well, wholesale probably $8 to $12 depending on your area, to retail maybe 15 to 18. Lion's Mane are really good. That's behind him on his right, and they're more expensive. They're super amazing for you. And if you've never watched Fantastic Fungi on Netflix, I highly recommend it. It is very cool. Very, very good documentary. Let's see. This system is, we hope to build soon. We're designing it for University of Houston, and it'll be for full mushroom production, USDA grant. The room on the left will be kind of like a clean room, and they'll do, see, I'll go to the next one, kind of an overhead. It's not as detailed, but the room on the far back will be their clean room, and then it's got a little window. It'll be 2 separate shipping containers. We can join them together, have the 2 grow rooms on the far right, a vestibule viewing area here. But in that back room, they'll have a little 2x2 window or pass through that. In that back top left room will be a substrate mixing room. Requires a tremendous amount of power for some reason. But so they'll do full research for mushrooms. And we hope to, it's supposed to be a 3-month project, about 1.5 years ago. So, we're getting a lot closer. I was telling Bruno about this one. This is the one that there's a hotel in Tbilisi, Georgia, near Russia. We built this there. We prefabbed all the stuff here, shipped it over, had it in 2 shipping containers, crated it up, labeled everything the way, 2A, and they decided that they needed to take everything out of the crates and randomly mix it up. That was a lot of fun. But this, I think, total was about 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. We assembled it in maybe about 7 days. Got all the lights hung. I think it was around 2,000 lights. It was a wild experience. It was great. But we learned a tremendous amount. But the cool part about it is that we knew we could take these systems, prefab them, pack them up, and ship them to another country and assemble it relatively quickly. Maintaining the environment there. This whole facility was an old newspaper. The hotel was an old newspaper factory, but the concrete was, each wall was 12 inches thick. So the environment was great. It was no insulation. It ended up working out well, but it was very challenging. Very, very cool product. They grow the food for the hotel. They do some edible flowers, and lots of different experimental projects and plants and things like that. And I think they're the only indoor vertical farm in Georgia for a long time. I think they're doing some other projects now, but it's pretty neat. And happy to go back and look at stuff, but that's pretty much it. This was a very early on picture. This is a chef at the Ritz-Carlton. We did one in Naples, Florida, and just to hit on some of the challenges that they faced. They didn't ask for permission. They begged for forgiveness, went ahead and got the unit. They have to keep a sample of every plant that they take out of there for 90 days. They have to send it off to get tested. And so, because big challenges that we've tried to work through with bigger like box stores, we had a nonprofit arm of Target. And whenever you start talking about liability, and if somebody gets sick, they always have a tough time with, if they grew this and served it in their restaurants and somebody gets sick and dies, very small percent chance of that happening. But it does, I guess. But so they had to have a lot of controls. But this George Fitzstravich is a very awesome guy. They were growing a bunch of different things in there, and great story about him is we always tell everybody they're going to kill something, they're going to mess something up at some point. So just go after it. But we told him that he probably only needed to plant out maybe a quarter or half of it. He said, "No, I'm gonna plant out everything." And maybe 2 months later, he called me. He's like, "Everything's dead." He's like, "I've killed everything." And there we used to sell the stuff called Line Blaster. It is amazing. If it cleans after lines, it's organic. And I don't remember what's in it, but it works really, really well. And you're only supposed to use 2 ounces per 100 gallons, I think. And so I don't know what he got mixed up, but it was like he was putting like 10 ounces in 2 times a week, and everything died. And or it didn't die, it just burned the roots off the bottom. But he was able to he changed it out to water. Their water was terrible, had really bad water quality, but he was able to kind of bring it all back, and they did really well with it. Got a lot of positive feedback. So, but happy to answer any questions, or and feel free to take down my information. Call me, email me, anything I can do to help you guys. Be happy to. Yeah.
Thank you for the talk, Tripp. So great video of that rolling bench with the one arm sliding it at feet. Do you have a video of someone sliding it full?
I can try to find one. Yeah, it does. They do slide. The ones that we have there, it's like they call them B tracks, basically like a railroad track. So it doesn't have wheels as casters on it, and they slide much easier than if you're trying to have them on swivel casters and things like that. So yeah, I mean, you might have to put some weight behind it, but I mean, it is much easier to move than trying to use a swivel wheel, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, I mean, it's depending on what plants you have in there. They were going to do mostly seedlings, so there wasn't going to be an extreme amount of weight in there. And they do offer, I think, some other mechanisms to help move it. I know it's kind of like the Dodgers offices. I think Pitt Horticulture offers it. It's like a wheel, and for medical records, they can put them all together. It's the same concept, and you just turn it, but you have to turn it a lot. But it'll slide the racks back and forth. There's a lot of different options out there. It's not sure the exact cost, but like if that one was, $2,000, the Pitt Horticulture one would be $10,000. So it's really kind of we try to keep it as simple and cost effective as possible, because it can get really expensive really fast. So yeah.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It was very insightful. I wanted to ask you, for the slide you showed with bees, you said wild edible flowers.
Mhm.
Can you elaborate more so on that? And a question I had is, could we use these systems for tissue culture?
I think yeah, because they for the edible flowers, I'm not sure exactly which ones they were growing. They just would send me the pictures. I'm not too versed on that, so I apologize. But there's Tammy, the lady with the microgreen, she would grow them as well. We've had some people interested in it, and I had, and I'm trying to think through. We've had some people call us about different doing tissue culture and things like that. So it's just really depending on, what's the environment you need. Like I tell her, you can grow anything in there you want to. It's just a matter of getting the environment the way you need it to be, and what type of growing system you want it to go in. And like I had a guy call me from Jamaica or something and had never grown anything, and asked if you could grow banana trees. I said, well, sure, you can grow a banana. You can grow probably one banana tree. So it's just, and happy to talk to you further about, if you can tell me what your needs are, I can put together what it would take to create that environment for you. There's a company I was telling these guys that they grow mycelium and make like leather goods. It looks just like leather goods. It's a company called Myco Works. They're out of California as well. So they grow it indoors also. So it's just, we didn't build the environment for them. We're hoping to do some container farms for them soon. But you know, it's just getting the environment of what you need, and we can kind of work backwards from there and see if it's feasible to do it, if it makes any sense. Sure.
Great. Thanks for the presentation. When you sell those, these are white grains, right? There's a check, there's a research institution, there's a 7-year-old lady.
Yeah.
How they go forward? Do you suggest them a supplier to buy CCPP, everything? How they go about running the system after you do?
So what we usually do is they'll call us first, and then I say, all right, we're going to be your after you talk to us now, we'll be your last stop, because you've got to go out, and because every market is completely different. You know, and it is one of the biggest challenges and hurdles we face. And we've gone from holding the hand and doing market research for everybody and then letting, you know, taking the training wheels off, and it falls apart really quickly. So we try to be here as a resource to, you know, point everyone in the right direction and say, you got to figure out where your market's going to be. Start with restaurants. Do you know somebody in a restaurant? Do you have a friend in a restaurant? Go talk to them, because those are the low-hanging fruits. Because selling to a big box store, Whole Foods, or somebody like that is the hoops you have to jump through, especially on a small scale like this, are very, very difficult, or they can be, because Whole Foods or Walmart or whoever tell you what the requirements are that you have to do, and versus restaurants, most of them you can go to and just sell it as is to a farmer's market. So we're somewhere between, this is the piece of equipment like a tractor, good luck, versus, you know, doing all the work for them. We try to sit in the middle, and because it is a business, you know, you got to treat it like a business, and to have that specific skill set to grow, to go out and sell, it is challenging. And I was very naive about that part. Just with my background, when we first started, I was like, wow, this is really easy to grow in. And then about 8 months later, we met this group out of Colorado that bought one, and it was 2 guys, and they were accountants, and it was the worst experience for both of us. And so we ended up helping them resell it and things like that. But my background, I didn't understand how challenging it could be for somebody that just doesn't have that experience or just the understanding. So we try to, as much as somebody's screening us, we try to screen them as well to help them understand what they're about to get into. So we try to, you know, we want to sell millions of these things, but we want to sell them to the right people.
And you will see things, we kept some examples, things go wrong, very
Yeah.
easily. We kept a lot of those. And why we so strict from interviewing, there were a lot of people.
Yeah.
There is a lot of
5 to
people out
7
there.
companies.
You see his demeanor, right? The university will throw at him, this is the electrical regulations for California, because he builds for different states, different countries. Still, the structure has to meet code. And they will change things for him. And
Oh yeah.
but he will, yeah, he was the right choice just for being able to interact with different systems. Systems meaning university versus private versus.
Yeah, and it is challenging, but yeah, I mean, that's I think what we specialize versus the other competitors. They'll, you know, they grow a couple different systems, but I think being able to be versatile and change is why we're, you know, still here after 10 years, I guess, because it's been a fun, exciting, wild ride for sure.
We had company that after we said that we were a UCR, we're a university, they said no.
They walked away.
They walked away because they didn't want to deal with the bureaucracy.
So
Yeah.
people just had an idea to,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, we can grab lunch